Okay, we're live on LinkedIn. Um, just a quick check. We're live on Twitter, and we're also live on YouTube. Okay. Yeah, that is that. So yeah, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning into another episode of An Hour with Manager. I'm here, your favorite host, Ubo Matthew, and I'm always happy to always show up every time here for this very session. And thank you very much for tuning in to join me today. So today, being the 26th of October or September, sorry to say, we feel so good to be here again with another host in person of Lalindra De Silva, who is going to share much insight about his experience, what he's done so far the past couple of years, and what has been going on, right? We'll also get to get this experience and also get to talk about the discussion of today, talking about work life, right? I know a lot of us are very curious about this very question. So many people are asking questions about work life balance. How is it like? What is really happening? What do you really understand or explain to be work life balance and all of that? So, our guest today will help us share those detailed information on what we need to do and how we can solve those problems. But in all, thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in today. I really appreciate you for always showing up today. Thank you very much for never stop streaming, never stop sharing our content, never stop reaching out, and never stop asking questions because that alone motivates me and my team and all of us now with manager, including our guests, to always show up and share the best value. So thank you very much once again. Lalindra, good evening and welcome to an hour with manager. How are you doing today?
Good evening, Matthew. Good morning, good afternoon. As we say in Kenya, Jumbo. And in saying I'm from Sri Lanka, so we say Ayubowan, which means welcome.
Aiboan, right? Aiboan. Okay, thank you very much. All right. So I think I get to learn different language over time with different guests. So thank you very much for also exposing me to that. We also have one of our audience here who is saying, okay, so Karen, good to have you. She's a body and holistic founder. So thank you very much for tuning into an hour with manager today. So yeah, to everybody who's here, like our tradition, if you're here today alone and you're not sharing the link with your friends, with your colleagues, with your team member, even with your boss, go back, click the link. Don't stream alone. Don't stream this very session alone. Don't just say, oh, it's for Ubon Matthew or it's for our guests. No. Share the link on your WhatsApp status with your friends, with your loved ones, anybody you can get to share this with. Either they join us on YouTube or they join us on Twitter. Search for Now with Manager or search for Ubon Matthew and you're going to find us. Or better still, if you have any questions, any comments, or any suggestion, you can as well send them to my DM if you're shy to send to the comment box. But nevertheless, we will continue to feature those informations here for our guests to, to share detailed answers and response to us. So thank you very much once again. So before we get into the conversation of today, first I know a lot of us are wondering. Ubong has brought in today a guest from Sri Lanka who is also in Kenya. Who is Lalindra and what has he been doing so far? So please, Lalindra, tell us what you've been doing so far the past 20 years and how the past 20 years has been like for you professionally and personally. Thank you.
Right. Thanks, Matthew. First of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me to your podcast. It's indeed a pleasure and honor to grace your podcast. Thank you very much for the invite. And who is Lalindra? I have been around the world. I have worked in 3 countries. I was born in Sri Lanka, the pearl of the Indian Ocean, and currently I live in Mombasa, which is in Kenya. I I'm a okay. How shall I put it? I don't have any brothers or sisters. I'm just myself, and sometimes there's something good about it, and there's something bad about it as well. Being the only child in the family, but I've for the longest period I wanted to travel, and I got a break to work in Saudi Arabia. I worked in Saudi Arabia for 5 years, and then I got the break to work in Kenya as well. I've been here for the past 7 years, working for one of the largest tea companies over here. And I'm an accountant by profession. I'm a numbers guy. I've been passionate about numbers since I was small. That's how I got into become an accountant. I've been in finance for the past 20 years now. And but then what drives me, what is a passion for me, is actually wildlife, something which I learned when I came to Kenya. It is every weekend or every other weekend, you will not find me at home. You will find me in the bush. I will be either running behind an elephant or running behind a lion. I have been chased by a lion. I have been chased by a hippo. I have been chased by an elephant. So I love wildlife. Plus, I'm a wildlife photographer as well. And I always encourage my friends, families to come to Kenya, which has resulted in me actually planning safaris. I kind of do it as a hobby, which hopefully one day I want to make it into a business. Uh, yeah, that's a bit about me. My friends call me a gentle giant. That's who Lalindra is. So, and I'm fun to be around. And when you start getting to know me, you know that, if you are spending a weekend with me, I'm sure it will go until 2, 3 in the morning for sure.
No problem. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. You know, when you mentioned you come from like kind of share yourself into three different countries and the whole accounting and going into photography, and myself and every other person who is also listening to this will be wondering how do you even make out time for each of these spaces, right? How do you even make out time to be an accounting manager or to be a numbers guy and also to be that guy who is there in the forest looking all dirty because of the dirt or probably was being chased by a lion or something. How do you get to enjoy that very share different kind of body, be different person or be the same person in the same body but in different forms, right?
Of course, of course. Well, for me, how would I say, wildlife or going on a safari or going to the jungle is more of, how would I say, it's a spiritual experience for me. It's like there is no better feeling when you're in your safari vehicle. The African sun is setting, the wind is blowing on your face. You can it's pitch silence, and only thing you could hear your heartbeat. It's like if you think heaven is real, that's where you can experience heaven. So I don't go to church that often to Sundays, because for me going on a safari is like going to church. It's like experiencing God over there, God's creation. So for me, it's more of a therapeutic experience as well. In office, as you know, it's really stressful in office. So for me, going on a safari or spending the weekend away is, how would I say, a moment to recharge, to reset. And this is something which we will be talking about in detail as we go about. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for sharing that detail again. And all of this still ties down to our discussion of today. And shout out to Caroline Gaturu for also getting to make that connect, right? For us to get to meet. And I see how amazing and why she had to pick you as a very as that speaker who would be able to do justice to that very conversation, because having to balance up your life as a wildlife professional and also as an account manager, right? It's something very amazing, and we also like to know how you've been able to harness that process for the past 20 years and with other things you've been doing. But first, like every other curious person I've been asking, what would you say is work-life balance, or does something like that ever exist, or would you say something like that ever happens, or for every professional?
Okay. In my opinion, there is no perfect work-life balance. There's no perfect work-life balance. There would be certain days where you would
Why?
it's like a scale. Some days you would have where your work is going to be like up like this, and then some days you would have your personal life going up like this. So it's how you balance the two. Now, in simple terms, what I feel, work life balance is, I'll tell you a small story. um, when I was working in Sri Lanka, there was when I was the second in charge of the finance department. Our deputy chairman had a meeting, and he literally verbally abused me in front of all the other managers. I was so disheartened. So I went to our HR, and I told him, this happened like this. I want to give my resignation. Do you know what he told me? He asked me, Lalindra, do you have a maid coming to your house? I said, yes, I have a maid comes like once or twice a week. She comes to clean the house. He says, there is no difference between you and your maid. You are a glorified servant, which gets paid more. That's it. Why do I say that? He said, if you're not happy with the performance of your maid, you will fire her like this. Same, your boss will do the same thing. If he's not happy with your performance, he will fire you. So what's the difference between you and your maid? Just that you have been paid more. So which made me open my eyes, because I was under the impression that you know I go to work 8 in the morning, I come back maybe 6 7 in the evening, I work loyal to the company, I give my I sacrifice sometimes my family time on behalf of the company. But then to realize the company was there before you, and the company is going to be there after you.
After you.
It takes just 1 second and you will be replaced. Maybe they will miss you for a day or two, and then it's going to be business as usual. So now, in a situation like this, is it worth giving your 100%, sacrificing your family time, sacrificing your health, your physical health and mental health for the organization? So it's a very interesting dilemma, which the old school thought is that when you work for a company, you need to be loyal to the company, you need to be there from the time you start, you retire from that company. That's the old school thought. But I think we have come a long way from that thought. One of my former bosses told me, a British guy, the company which I worked in Saudi, he said, Lalindra, you should be working for a place for 5 years. Optimal level is 5 years. And then he said, after that, if you get up in the morning and you don't feel like going to work, give your resignation. So the day you get up and you don't want to go to work, that's the day you should give your resignation.
Wow. How did that make you feel?
Well, which is true. The reason is now the current company I'm working is the longest I have worked for, and I have been here for 7 years. This is the longest I've worked.
Wow.
And the biggest contributing factor for me has been my boss. So I work for the largest tea exporting company in Kenya. I'm the financial controller. We have 3 companies in Kenya. I handle the finance for all 3. In my finance department, I have around 25 staff working under me. I directly report to our managing director and the chairman. It's a family-owned business. So my boss has been one of the best bosses I have worked for. So when you are at that level, you realize it's not about the salary. It's something more than that. How you are being treated. Do you get that respect? Do you get that authority? So there's more fulfillment in the work you do. Is there something you're trying to achieve? Is it just going to work in the morning, coming in the evening? So that's the thing which drives me, because now when I get up in the morning, I'm like, oh, I have to do this, I have to do this, this is pending, that is pending, oh, we have to expansion project is there, we need to I need to arrange finance for that. So there are so many things working in your head. Not once for the past 7 years when I've got up in the morning, I have felt I can't go to work today. By the way, I have, for the past 7 years, I have taken maybe 2 or 3 sick leave for the entire 7 years.
Wow. From what you're sharing right now, I want to quickly ask, right? I know you've had to tie your conversation to you have a purpose, and any day you stop finding that purpose, then it means that is not where you need to be anymore. You need to find the next place so that you can be able to stay at your own pace and have a set, what they call a certain set of mindset, right? Like that's mental peace. So, will you say it is to achieve work-life balance, right? You should always have a reason to do a thing without even just doing it because you want to just do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is important, uh, you know, see, to achieve an optimal work-life balance. if you start thinking you're going to office just to pay the bills, you are just going to office just for the sake of going to office, you are going to stress yourself mentally and physically. It is going to take a big toll on you. So it is, I always say that when you, if you find a job, do a job which you love. And if you're doing something which you don't love, find a reason to love it, right? It's in other words, why are you doing that job? So if you find the reason why, maybe you studied, for example, how would I say, political science for your degree program, but then you got an opportunity maybe in accounts, for example. So maybe you studied something else, but the job which you have is in something else. But then that doesn't stop you from finding the passion to do your job well, because by doing your job, giving your 100% to your job, there is fulfillment in that as well. Because I'll give you a small example. I had one of my juniors 2 years ago. So uh, he was reporting to one of our managers. He's been with the company for like 10 years. So this manager came and told to me, Lalindra, so and so. So he got an increment. So he got the standard increment which everybody else got. It's like so and so is not happy with the increment he got. So I asked, okay, but he got the increment. It was based on the appraisal score he got. That's the increment he got, but he's not happy with it. So I said, what you perform is what you get. Then he's saying, unless he got a bigger increment, he's not going to perform. So you see what I mean? So it's like, if you don't pay me, I will not perform.
Yeah.
The way around. Then on the flip side, I'll give you another example. I had a guy who joined us in our company as an intern. Joined as an intern, then we took him as a trainee, and he slowly climbed the ladder. This guy. So one of my senior managers, when I joined, he's actually unfortunately a classic example of neglecting work-life balance. When I joined the company, he was literally running our treasury department. He was unfortunately diagnosed with Parkinson's. So as you know, with Parkinson's, there's no cure. So as time goes by, he is going to slowly deteriorate. So I asked this, would you like to learn this manager's work? And eventually, slowly, you can help him, the guy, help the manager. He said yes. But I told him, you cannot neglect the work you're doing already. Already he has a set of work. He's already operating at 100% capacity. So I asked him, can you learn this work as well? He said, yes, I will learn the work. So what would happen in the mornings, early mornings, he would come, sit with this manager and start learning the work. And he learned the work for 2 years. He didn't not once talk about an increment. He did not talk about a promotion, nothing. And eventually this manager retired and I promoted him to a manager. He became our youngest manager in our group, just at 27 years. So not once he has come to me and asked, can you give me, I'm doing this much of work, give me an increment. I'm not paid more. No. And because of that attitude and the way he was performing, he was getting increments around 40 to 50% year on year. Because not only me, even our managing director noticed that.
Wow.
So you see the contrasting situations. And now the beauty is, this guy, during 8 to 5, that time, he's like on the ball. 5:30 he will leave. He's a Liverpool fan, by the way. And he loves football. From 5:30 to 6:30, he goes and plays football with his friends.
And he doesn't miss football.
He doesn't miss his football.
Wow. Wow.
He still takes his laptop home. If there's work to be done, fund transfers needs to be done because we work with the UK time as well. He has done transfers, moved monies around at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the night.
Wow.
So from a guy telling, if you don't give me, I will not perform, to a guy who says, give me work, give me work, give me work. And the guy is maintaining a fantastic work life
Balance and
balance.
patience. Yeah.
Exactly. And eventually, the former guy, he left the company because he didn't realize that it's a vicious cycle. Until you perform, you will
You
not be.
get yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, yeah. Wow. That's I really love that. I really love that example. I really like that example which you just shared right now. Trying to tie those two scenarios because I know these days you find a lot of people who say no, you have to pay me very well before I get to work and all of those things, or I have to. How much? The first question is you ask someone, "Are you open to do a stuff? Are you open to work with me on a project?" And the first question is, "How much are you going to pay me?" You don't even understand what you're about to do yet, what you're going to jump into, and you're already asking for how much. How then are you going to, what attitude are you going to put in to even do the job, right? And trying to balance that in your workspace, and because whatever you do without even being at the office, in one way or the other, still reflects your attitude wherever you find yourself in whatever you're doing. And so I just want to tie this quickly to one of the points which in our discussion today, talking about passion and your career. So how 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 can your passion, right, how can your passion fuel your career for you to have a proper work-life balance, not to have that times when like some of those times where you know that you don't know why you're doing it, you just have to continue doing the work until you find the reason why, and then you get to move yourself on that speed. I know you've been in this space before, but how do you think our listeners can also leverage that for their own benefits, please?
okay, it's a very good question. When it comes to passion, so all of us have different types of passions. For me, my passion is all about delivering results. For me, my boss knows, our chairman knows, if we need funds, like I'm actually currently working on securing $1 million facility for our company. So he knows anytime we need funds, Lalindra is the go-to person. So I derive from that situation of where my passion is to make sure I deliver exceptional results. Uh, I'm a firm believer of under promise, over deliver. So most of us try to do the other way around. We over promise and under deliver. So I'm a big fan of the former. And when it comes to passion, it's I I realize sometimes when you're working in an organization, as time goes by, you start. It sometimes is the organization's fault as well. If you are in the same seat for the past so many years, maybe you have a horrible boss. He doesn't speak to you with respect. The way he tries to micromanage things. Then he maybe there's no growth in the organization, right? So all these things lead to a fall in passion. Maybe when you join the organization, you had the passion. Oh, I am going to do this. I'm going to be like this. Then as time goes by, you realize that what you saw at the beginning is not there now. Now, like I said before, you just go to office just for the sake of going to office. So when it comes to that type of situation, you need to do a big self evaluation of yourself. Is what are you doing with your life currently? It happened to me when I was in Saudi Arabia. When I was there for 5 years, I was promoted once from accountant to senior accountant, and I was senior accountant for like 3 years. I was there for 5 years. After first 2 years, I was promoted. I was very happy. I thought I'm on the trajectory going up. Then it came to a point, they moved me to our head office, and I realized that there are five more senior accountants who are in the company much more had more experience. And
Higher than you,
unfortunately,
yeah.
yes, and unfortunately for me, I didn't know Arabic, and those guys knew Arabic, so which was a plus point for them. So I realized that, hold on, what am I doing with my life right now? Am I going to just continue my life like this, or I think I need to make a change? So what did I do? I gave my resignation, I gave actually 3 months notice, and I told them I'm going back to Sri Lanka, and I moved back home. I moved back home without a job. Believe me, no job. I just left. So and then by that it now put it was a gun on your head now, because why? You need to find something, you need to do something, and
Yeah.
then thank God.
Survive.
Yeah, exactly. Now I think most of us get into this comfort zone. We are like, oh no, can I find another job when I go outside there? Do you think I'll get another job? So I think and I also believe in a thing where you need to have plan A, plan B, plan C in your life, right? So I realized that now, whilst I'm working as an accountant, another thing which I got into was photography. And then I looked at photography is, I was investing in myself. I was investing in learning a skill, photography, because I actually started learning photography when I came to Kenya. It was self-taught. I nobody taught me. I have not attended any class. I have not done. But if you see my IG page, I'm sure you can see quite a decent. I'm a decent photographer. I'm not a professional photographer, but I am. I'm okay.
Yeah.
But that
Yeah.
was self learned. YouTube. YouTube was my teacher. So I realized
Okay.
that. Yeah. So I realized that, and also something which I'm really good at is planning. I'm an excellent planner. When my friends and all, when we need to go on a trip somewhere, I'm good in numbers and I'm good in planning. So I'm the guy who collects the money, and I'm the one who makes the budget. I'm the one who does the bookings. So I'm the one who calls hotels, negotiate prices, everything I used to do.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking to myself now, as the years, actually since about 2 years back, just after COVID, that, hold on. I know all the transporters. I know majority owners of these lodges in Kenya, in the parks. I know where to go. I know certain the parks, how to advise people which season to come, which season not to come, on how much it's going to cost. I'm like, why don't I see how I can make some money out of this, right?
Yeah.
So then
Yeah.
what happened? Yeah. So then what did I start to do? When my friends, my relatives were in Sri Lanka, I would tell them, why don't you come to Kenya on a safari? You know? And then my friends over here, when their families would come to Kenya, they would call me, Lalindra, we want to go to Sabo. We want to go to Masai Mara. Where do you recommend? I'm like, okay, do you want to book it? I cannot do the booking for you. No problem. So I would not keep any margins or anything. I would do it. I would do it for the experience, me learning.
That that's you create, you get to create that reliance, right?
Exactly. And now anyone knows, all of our Sri Lankan community in Mombasa is like, if they want to plan a safari, like just 2 weeks ago, one friend called me. It's like, Lalindra, August holidays, October holidays are coming. Can you book for me a hotel? Done. So I mean, I started organizing tours for my friends. Then word of mouth went. Then, so what I'm trying to say is, I started learning a skill. Because I learned a skill, now I know any day if I leave my job, I have something which
You
I
have a
can follow.
backup.
Exactly. So that is my plan B. So even for the audience, what I need to say, if you are not happy where you are, and if you feel you are getting stagnant, start working on your plan B if you don't have a plan B. And sometimes you may feel, I actually was having a conversation with a friend recently, and he was saying that his wife wants to open a special needs daycare center for children. Yeah. Now he was doing his budget. His wife is not happy. She's a teacher. She wants to leave. She wants to start her own thing, and then but it's going to cost about 5 million shillings. So what do we do? How are you going to find this? So he was asking me, what should I do? I told him, okay, whatever monies you have, you will put, right? Now, how are you going to raise the balance funding? You can either go to your friends. And now imagine you go to a friend. I come and ask Matthew, there's this investment I have. Can you give me 5 million rupees? I'm not sure the Naira, how much is the exchange rate now, maybe 25 million or whatever. You'll be like, are you crazy? I don't have 5 million shillings with me. But if I come and tell you, Matthew, this is my business plan. I am trying to gather investors to invest in this project. Not much. Can you do 25,000? Okay. Now you would be like, yeah, I know Lalindra. Lalindra is my good friend. You know what? To help him out, let me you do 25,000. So I was telling him, go to all your friends, your wife's friends, relatives, ask. Don't go and ask for 5 million. Go and ask for 25,000. The chances are you will collect that entire money or
Times more
even
people.
more.
Yeah.
Exactly. So now, from the wife being in a situation where she's depressed, like, oh my God, I am fed up with my job. Now she knows now what needs to do. So this is where you need to start working on your plan B. If you don't have a plan B, work on a plan C even, because in case if plan B doesn't work. So
But for the benefit of those who would say, who will listen to this and say, don't you think you're trying to do too much at the same time, and you might lose your focus, trying to have plan B, plan C, and all of that for backup instead of just focusing on one?
okay, see, in life you always go to have a plan B. It's you having a plan is different to doing something about the plan, right? So imagine if she was just a teacher and her plan was simple. She had a plan in her head. I want to do this, right? So having a plan, there's nothing wrong in life having plans. They say, if you don't plan, if you fail to plan, fail to plan to fail, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Then, because I'll give you a small example from my life. When I started just working, when I finished my studies, I have a very unique story in my life. Even I'm a management accountant by profession, but I don't have a degree. I didn't go to university.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'll tell you my story. It's a very interesting story. I'm not sure that you have interviewed someone with this type of story. Now, my
It's
dad.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my dad is an HR professional. He was into training. He does career guidance. He does counseling. He does kids to teenagers and all. So when I was filling we call it A levels in Sri Lanka. I'm not sure how here they call it KCSE or something like that. Just before university, the exam you need to do before you go to university, right? In Sri Lanka, we call it A levels.
Yeah, we call it. I think that's jam. We call it jam.
Okay. So if you pass that, depending on your results, they will say you have
go
been
to the
selected.
university. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I finished my levels when I finishing my levels. So my dad asked me, "What do you want to do?" I was good in numbers at that time. I was very good in numbers. So I was telling my dad I like to study. Go in accounts line. I would like to do it. So he asked me. So now after you finish your actually, we had this conversation just after I finished my exam. I finished my exam. I was waiting for my results. I just finished. So my dad sat me down and asked me, so Lali, what's your plan? What do you want to do? Well, we have been programmed to think after you finish your studies, you need to go to university. So my dad asked me, so what do you want to do? I said, okay, maybe I'll depending on my results, and we'll see what university I need to go. So he asked me, do you really have to go to university? I'm like, why not? He's like, okay, let me ask you, how many years are you going to spend in university? Say 4 years. If the universities don't strike, 4. If there are strikes happening in between, something happening, political unrest, whatever, 4 can become 5 years. So 5 years. Now, you are 19. You will be out from university as 24, 25, right? Now, he said, I am an HR person. I'm going to recruit you. What value do you bring to my organization? Zero. Wow. You don't know. You don't even know how to open a bank account, right? You don't have any experience working in an organization, right? Do you know what here they call the KRA, like tax, related to tax and all this stuff? Do you know how to do this? Do you know anything how things happen in an organization? I said no. So you want to waste 5 years of your life learning a subject which you will not use, which you will not remember, and you are just going to be end up with a piece of paper, and you will now have to start from scratch as a trainee working somewhere, wasting 5 years of your life. I'm like, okay, makes sense. Just I asked, what should I do? So he told me, okay, so now what options do you have? Anyway, you need to be professionally qualified. If you want to do in finance, you need to
Okay.
have professional qualification. Yeah. So there's this
Okay.
UK exam called CIMA. It's called the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants. That's one of the most recognized
Yeah.
accounting body for management accountancy. So he
Okay.
said, why don't you start do this? You don't need to do full time. You go do it for it part time, and you go to work.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, makes sense. So I joined a company which was paying me, I'll tell you in the current exchange rates, was paying me $10 a month. My salary was $10 a month. I joined as a trainee, right? At 19. And my results, by the way, my
And
results are
then
not yet.
and then it was still a reasonable amount of money, actually.
Yeah. I mean, I was living with my parents. You know, Sri Lankan culture is very funny compared to the African culture. We live with our parents
Yeah,
after we get married.
family bonding. Yeah.
Exactly. So my dad would drop me halfway on the way, and then I would take the public transport and I would go to office. But that's how I got started. And then I would have my classes 2 weekdays in the evenings from 5 to 8, and Saturday Sundays. So I would have my weekend classes, and then now remember I told you I have 20 years work experience. By the way, I'm 40, so I'm 40 with 20 years work experience.
Wow.
Yeah. So I have worked in about
Wow.
7 organizations, which is 4 multinationals. So the point which I'm trying to make now, when I became 25, right, and I qualified when I became 25. The moment I got qualified is when I got the job opportunity to move to Saudi. Now, I have a qualification at 25. I'm a management accountant, and now Matthew comes out of university with a degree, BSc, no work experience. I have 6 years work experience. Now, who do you think the company will hire, you or me? It's a no-brainer, right?
And you get to employ them. No, you get to employ the university graduates.
I'm not saying
Yeah,
that.
yeah, actually. No, I did went to school. I understand what you're saying. I can really relate to what you're trying to share with us here.
Yeah. So for me, it came to a point where I realized that in life that you get to points where, like, you know what, I am really frustrated. I can't like the my second job, I worked at a bank. I was like a vampire. I would go to office at 7:30 in the morning, and I would come home at 9:30 in the night. I don't see daylight. I was doing over 100 hours overtime. It came to a point where I was burning. I was literally burning myself out. So it came to a point where I just left. I gave my resignation without a job. I just left because I couldn't handle it. So these are learning experiences for me, which I has helped me as time goes by how to manage your work life and your personal life as well.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Getting to tap into your rich experience. Trust me, your kind of dad is rare. Even if, yeah, I think he actually played the role of being a coach. And if everybody actually had a coach from that year, I think would have a very, very wide and awesome society. But nevertheless, shout out to your dad for also putting you right. I think he helped you saw he helped to still put you right by still putting you back in chartered institution. So entirely, I won't say you didn't go to school because you still went to chartered institution to get that refined knowledge, still get to have a fair share, get to network, connect with people, still balance yourself and push up with all that you're doing. But quickly, I just want to share with our audience here today that why Lalindra's story is very unique is I know we have lots of professionals who are here on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. I actually enjoy using LinkedIn more than any other platform. But when I asked Lalindra, where is the most preferred platform? I searched the whole of LinkedIn. I couldn't find Lalindra. And I was like, wow, how I think this is the first guest I'm having who is not on LinkedIn. but is very active on Instagram. So I think if you love wildlife and you love to see wonderful pictures about awesome pictures or awesome wildlife pictures, you can as well look up Lalindra's IG page, and I think you get the benefit of that. But for you, Lalindra, how did this make you feel to get that balance without having to feel like, oh, I'm doing less, right? Being a professional, I'm not on LinkedIn, but I'm here on Instagram, just doing what matters to me and doing what makes me feel very better and feel very good actually.
Well, it's a good question. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I work 24/7. What do you mean I work 24/7? My phone has to be with me at any given time. I check my emails on a regular basis, and even when I go on leave. So as an expatriate working in Kenya, I'm entitled for 26 days leave, and my boss doesn't allow me to go take the entire 26 days at once. I had to break it into two. I saw well, good thing I get to Sri Lanka twice a year, but so for me, anytime he would even call me at 9 o'clock in the night or whatever to ask questions or something. I work 24/7. So, but the difference is there's a difference between working hard and working smart, right? What do I mean by that? Now, when you are at a managerial level, some managers have this thing is they want to microfinance the team, right? I'm a firm believer is you need to delegate. If you don't delegate, you will go crazy. I mean, the way I manage three companies, uh, we are over $200 million turnover, and I have about 5 6 bank facilities which I need to handle. I have to handle the bankers, I have to handle the suppliers, I have to handle the regulators, so many people. I have every day at least I have one meeting. So imagine if I have to go and micromanage my team, I would go crazy. So a lot of managers don't has this, I don't know, it's a phobia or something. They want to hold it to themselves. It's like they're like, if I don't let it go, my juniors will come and take my job. So because I
Yeah,
know
yeah,
for me, when I go and live, I can go and live on peace. Even though my bosses will call me, I can go on peace because my managers are the way, and I have made them train the next level as well. So if someone goes on leave, business runs as usual. And there are people who covers. I always believe in job rotation. This is something I learned in Saudi Arabia, where in our finance department, when people would go on leave, we had somebody else taking over the other person's work. So everybody would learn everybody's work. That's something I implemented in Kenya as well when I joined, because early it was not like that. Now, I tell my guys, if you guys don't go on leave in a year, don't come and ask me for leave encashment. I don't do leave encashments. You guys need to take your leave, including the manager who I talked about. He is the guy who is the most under pressure. I let the guy go on leave. He was on leave for like 2 weeks. So for me, I'm like, you guys need to have your me time, your personal life. That's where the work-life balance come in. Because if you don't take your leave, you are going to be mentally stressed. So you need to have that. Taking leave, delegating work are key components of maintaining a healthy work-life balance. If you try to do everything yourself, you're going to burn out. And things like going to the gym, if you're doing a sport, um, go like my friend, my junior, he goes and plays football. Or if you're into something else, maybe you like to go for some classes, go for dancing classes, maybe some activity like that. Maybe you want to go watch movies. Yeah, start spending time on yourself, on your family is very very important. Because
thank you.
yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, no, please go ahead.
Yeah, because remember I told you one of the managers who got Parkinson's. Now he's the
Yes.
guy who would come to work at 8 and he would leave at 7. And he was living a very unhealthy lifestyle. Unhealthy lifestyle in the sense that he was not drinking, or no vices, but he was into eating very fast food, processed food. He would not go do any
Junk.
yeah, no exercises. He would just come, and he was working in the company for 30 years. So an
Wow.
unhealthy lifestyle. led to his situation. That is my opinion, unfortunately. So I tell my guys, do you want to end up like that guy? So please take your leave, go. And I'm a firm believer as well. If you can't finish your work by 6 in the evening, if you come to work at 8 and you cannot finish your work by 6, there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with you. Unless you're working on a shift, if you can't finish your work between 8 to 6, there's something wrong with either you are due. There are some who like to show that they are working. They're not working actually, they're to show that they are working. And then they like wait till right at the end. Maybe they want to
To buy
wait till the
time.
end. Buy time, exactly. Good thing in my accounts department, I don't pay overtime because of that.
All right. Thank you very much, Lalindra. Thank you for sharing your experience so far, right? Because this is a very, very interesting conversation. Work-life balance for me in the professional space is a never-ending process, a never-ending journey, and I don't know when we're going to end that. In as much as we wake up every day, we have a life, we have a work, we have a business to go look out for, we have businesses to manage. We also have our personal life, we have a family to also get to connect friends and loved ones to still connect with and still keep the fire burning, not to miss out on any of these things. But to our audience who are listening to this, thank you very much once again. And we say thank you for staying for this past 15 or 45 minutes or 47 minutes with us and still counting. Here at Now with Manager, we appreciate questions, comments, and contributions and insights from you. So always do well to send them in. I have some in my DM, and we also have some contributions here from Erica in the comments box. Thank you, Erica. I'm going to read this very soon. I'll read this here with you, Lalindra. But still, quick one. Now with the manager, we will be launching our magazine, our first magazine issue by 31st of October next month. So if you're yet to join the waiting list, we have that link here in our comment box. So if you're listening to us on Twitter, on YouTube, or on LinkedIn, do well to click the link and join the waiting list. Let's continue to share and learn valuable information. Trust me, that issue is going to be power packed with quality information and insight. And also, do also spend some time on our website, spend some time on our site. We have some exciting information there. We're updating the website, we're doing some job in-house to make sure we continue to bring you the best quality and value at every point in time. Remember, it started as a passion project, and we are continuing to push. We are pushing this every day by day, taking it to the next level, and that is why we'll continue to deliver and be here every Thursday for you to learn from. So thank you very much, everybody, for that. So yeah, quick one from the contribution here from our listener. Erica says, "Ubong and Lalindra, the balance between work and life is service. Think of customer service excellence where some feel burdened by leadership and some feel blessed by leadership. When a customer complains and you celebrate their feedback, it means that the feedback was constructive, not destructive." Do you have any opinions to that?
Oh yes, I always believe that there's a saying, the customer is king. Customer is always right. So I am a firm believer. If a customer takes the time to make a complaint or to point out something, that should be taken very, very seriously. Because if one customer complains, there are 10 customers who could be not happy, who would just ignore and will not take the trouble to make a comment and will just not go buy your product or service. So if there's a customer who would make a complaint, I honestly, personally, I would value that, because unless you, because that customer don't have anything personal against you. So it is, if the customer is
Yes.
taking the time to say something negative, that means if the customer was happy, the person will not be complaining for anything, right? So whether it's reasonable, unreasonable, that's a different thing. But you always need to take seriously any feedback, positive or negative, given by a customer. That I 100% agree.
Thank you for sharing that. And a quick one, I just want to say, we have our 5 points of discussion today. We've talked about if possible, work-life balance can actually exist and how education can help us have a balance. Like you sharing your experience from your dad being your wonderful coach, And we've also talked about how our passion can fail us to have a good work-life balance. Now, I want to just quickly touch on effective time management techniques, right? So, how do you effectively manage your time for you to still maintain your, maintain all of these brands you're managing or these organizations you're managing, and still be a photographer probably on the weekends or maybe any day of the week, and still be a family man or go back to your friends and still have your other business going down? How do you manage your time effectively to still be a high performer?
Yes, that's a very good question. Time management is very, very important. Um, I think it all boils down to your priorities. What are your priorities in life? Now, I am a firm believer 8 to 6, I give my 100% when it comes to work. Okay. Anything outside that, if it's work related, I pick and choose. Okay. What do you mean by pick and choose? If something comes up, the question I ask, can this wait till tomorrow? If I don't, if I if I don't do it today, will hell break loose tomorrow morning? If the answer is yes, then I will attend to it today. And most likely 99% of the time the answer is no, so then I would do it first thing next day in the morning. I make sure I prioritize it and I do it. Now, about maintaining, like when my boss would call me, certain instances he would ask me certain things and I would tell him, sir, I don't have the information right now. When I get to office tomorrow, first thing I will do is I will send you this information, right? So there's no harm in telling them that you are not in a position to supply or give that information right now, and that you will get back to them tomorrow. A lot of people make the mistake is that they do not answer calls, which I really, really don't like. As being a manager, I should be able, I
Yeah,
should be,
can be
I
very
should,
frustrating.
yes. I mean, I would understand if I would ask a question and the person says, sorry, Lalindra, I am outside. I don't have this information now. Can I do this first thing tomorrow morning? 9 out of 10 times, I would say, yeah, no problem. Do it tomorrow morning. It's fine.
Yeah,
First thing in the morning, by 9 o'clock, I need this information. That's something which I actually truly respect. At least you are picking my call, right? So that is something which I always try to
yes,
maintain. And then also, I try to make sure that at least once a month, I go out. What do you mean I go out? I go on a safari. I mean for me it is safari. Maybe for you, Matthew, maybe it is going to your hometown, or going on a hike, or going cycling, or going fishing, you know, something like that. Maybe going out with a couple of friends somewhere, or on just a road trip, you know. Take time to do something out. I mean, I am totally against this thing of just staying home and watching Netflix. I mean, you are not adding any value to your life. If you're on a Sunday, you just get up in the
uh-huh.
morning and you watch Netflix the entire day. What are you doing with your life? What is you are literally on a timer, right? Just sitting in front of television doing nothing. Whatever.
On a digital cycle.
There's no harm in, yeah, there's no harm in watching a little bit of Netflix, something. I also do it, but then for me it's like, okay, what can I do today, you know? So I try to make my weekends, try to do something
Yeah,
during the weekends, so that and which will help me as well, because I feel rejuvenated, I feel energized to go to office on Monday. So it is important that, when you strike that balance, is that you don't need to overdo it. I'm not saying every weekend you need to be roaming around, going on a safari, and I don't have the money as well to spending, going around Kenya, spending,
yeah,
so for me, I'll
yeah.
be like, once a month I make a point to go out. Maybe on another day I'll be like, you know what, with a couple of friends, let's go to the beach, let's go somewhere, just hang out, go have a beer, enjoy the Sunday. and come back in the evening. You know, so this is something. Oh, go and meet some friends. Maybe there's a friend who you have not met in ages, maybe a relative. Go. And unfortunately, if I was in Sri Lanka, I have so much of relatives around which I could go and visit during the weekends. So there's no harm. Go and see your mom, dad, your brothers, sisters, go and see them. It's always good to have that relationship, you know. That is very important.
Thank you for sharing that. I think we sort of share something in common when you talked about communication, right? I always tell everybody I work with, even if you might not get a response from me ASAP, just acknowledge that you've seen my message and you're going to give me feedback once you're settled. Compared to you see the message 5 hours down, 8 hours down, 10 hours down, no response, and they're like, what is really happening? And the next minute you're like, oh, sorry, I forgot. Meanwhile, the time went down, but we would have been able to sort out this thing amicably, maybe on a call or something. So yeah, thank you for sharing that, and also talking about trying to get the weekends because it is very important. The whole professional life can be very frustrating sometimes that you don't really know that there's something going on up with you mentally, but by just opening your door and then going outside to catch fresh air, it can transform your life totally. So having to always be with the work, the whole remote work can be very crazy. Having to be there, even when you go out, you're still tricking your brain to be like, oh no, I'm not working today, but I'm here. I'm trying to unwind all of that. So, but thank you for sharing that, and I'm hoping that our listeners will continue to buy into these ideas and informations and insights. Majorly is for this to be also effective for you because we know that nobody knows it all, right? Everybody have a different way of thinking, a different approach to things. But whenever we have discussions like this, it's so that you can have a reason to think deeper. Have that thought. Oh, maybe if you didn't have plans to pick a vacation, just look for a way to pick one. At least 2 days, 3 days trip, 1 day trip. Go visit someone, go see people because it can be very frustrating to just find a professional life or to move through your whole career with just work, 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 work. Yes, you're going to get the benefits. Yes, you're going to get all the wonderful careers. Yes, you're going to get the promotion. But after the job, what next? What is next? What do you have around you that I can say, oh, I am bored. I can just move here and go get myself. Okay, I can just call this person and let's hang out. Let's just get to have friends time. Get to just have discussions other than work. It's always very helpful. And I would also advocate and say yes, the weekend is a very wonderful time. Maybe you can always make it flexible, right? Pick some weekends to maybe go out to go somewhere or maybe chill inside or something. But it's very important to do that. So thank you very much for sharing that in-depth information. And lastly, I just want to say some. I know you've already mentioned this point, but I think it makes sense if we get to hear this point by point. Talking about strategies for setting boundaries and prioritizing self care. What are some of those strategies that work for you to set healthy boundaries either at work or on the safari or with your friends or with families? For everybody to know that okay, this is a time when Lalindra is available and I'm unavailable at this time. I cannot do this by the time, like you mentioned. Okay, you can. Oh, I cannot give a response now. I can talk to you later. What are some of those steps and strategies that you use that has been helping you set healthy boundaries?
I always do is like during the weekdays, I go to the gym in the evening. So normally when I go to the gym, I make sure I go to the gym around 6 until like 8. Now normally during this time, I don't answer calls usually, because if you try to be answering calls, you won't be able to focus on your workout. Because for me, like going to the gym is like again therapeutic. You It's way of resetting your mind for the entire day. And then another thing which I try to do is I don't try to respond to emails. Even though I see an email, I don't try to respond to it that day, because in my mind, so say I respond to it now, 9 out of 10, the person who is going to see that response is going to see again tomorrow morning. It's not going to be today. So why would I want to sacrifice my personal life, looking at an email and trying to scratch my head, trying to figure out an answer when I'm trying to during my personal time? But I have prioritized, okay, whose calls I will answer, whose calls I will not answer. For example, if my boss calls me, I will pick the call. But if someone at the junior level would call me, I don't pick the call. Okay. And then I have another thing. If something is urgent, he will send me a message or he will call me again. All right. So if think about it, Matthew, if there's something urgent, if it's so urgent, that person will call you again, right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah, that's true.
he would send you a message. Lalindra, I'm trying to contact you. There's this situation like this. Please call
Yeah,
me.
at
You
least something to get you see. Yeah,
exactly. So you would do that. I would do that. If I need to contact someone urgent, I would say, I'm trying to call you. Please call me urgently. I would send a message.
yeah,
So which
that's
means
true.
it's not urgent, that urgent. So that's what I mean about prioritizing your life. You know, so you need to prioritize your and then weekends.
Yeah,
I I don't like to, unless there, if I'm some deadline, some work I need to achieve. Other than that, I'm like, this thing can wait till Monday. Or like I told you, this can wait till tomorrow. Is hell going to break loose tonight if I don't do this today? The answer is no. If the answer is no, I'll do it tomorrow morning. I'll go to maybe or to office a bit early and I will do it tomorrow. So it's about you learning to prioritize it. Okay. And also there's this aspect of communication where you need to speak to your boss. Okay. I always believe in that. If something is going late, okay, if there is no deadline, okay, you can go and always speak to him. Boss, can I finish this tomorrow? It's getting a bit late. You want me to do this now? Yes or no? All right. There is no harm in going and telling your superior, my friend, it's getting late. I have a life. Can I go home now? There's no harm in doing that. But most of us don't do that.
people think you actually lose the job to do that. You might probably lose the job if you have to do that. It depends. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm a firm believer is that if there's something which is really really urgent, which has to happen today, which is 9 out of 10. I mean, unless there's some deadline where you have to do this, or like, for example, tomorrow you have a management meeting at 9 o'clock in the morning, you have to finish some report. Other than that, which is don't happen maybe once or twice a month. Other than that, other days, I don't see anyone. Why should someone work late? It doesn't make any sense for me, right? If you are working late on a constant
Wow.
basis, that means you're ineffective, right? And you know that there's a saying, the most effective people are the lazy people. Do you know that? The
Actually,
reason,
actually.
yeah, the reason is why, because you are lazy, you will find ways to make that job easier.
That's true. That's true. You know, it takes my mind back to there's this tech related movie called Silicon Valley. There's this guy there who gets paid the most, but he does the laziest job in that very moment. You know, and what your illustration just took my attention to that. But yeah, I can really relate to that, and I say thank you very much, Lalindra, for all the insights you've shared. Actually, it's raining here for me right now, although I'm enjoying the weather. Yeah, but we have one last question from our audience, right? Who is really pressuring for this and would love to have a response. Though you've given a response to this, but I'm still going to bring this to your notice. So the question is, how do you find a balance in your professional career? Just that statement. How do you find a balance? How do you find that balance to say this is it in simple terms for everybody listening to this and also for the benefit of our audience who just joined?
Okay. See, the when you talk about balance, now someone who is like, for example, working in finance, we have deadlines. We have reports we need to submit on time. We have like the audits needs to finish on time. We 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 have it's quite a lot of pressure is there, right? So I think how you strike the
Yeah.
balance is one of the major things. Is first you need to prioritize your work, right? See what is the most important thing to the least important thing. Sometimes you have like 10 tasks on your table. Now, first you ask yourself, okay, what do I need to do? Sometimes you realize you end up doing the least important one first and keeping the most important one to the last. And then you realize by the end of the day, this thing you have to do it tonight because tomorrow is the meeting. Whereas you were doing your printer was not working in the morning or something, and you were trying to attend to the printer, or the lady who is next door trying to go and help her make her printer. So you have to start doing things which is not important. So first important thing is first focus on what is most important in your life. If you focus on what is most important so that you can finish those tasks first, then it is very easy. Now you will realize, hold on, there is some task which is not that important, and then you have your personal life over there. You need to go home to meet to your wife or your kids. So now you will realize, maybe I can make the printer tomorrow. It's not that, but I want to go home and spend time with my wife and my kids. So I will go and focus on that. So it's all about prioritization, in my opinion. You prioritize on the most important things first, and then it is much easier to strike a balance. Because if you don't do that, you start doing everything, and then you lose focus, and then you realize it's all over the place. So that's what I feel.
Wow. Thank you very much for that. Thank you for sharing that point. And to everybody who's listening to this very discussion today, we've successfully gone past 1 hour into 7 minutes. So we say thank you very much to our guest Lalindra for all the insights you've shared so far. The aim of this topic today was for us to understand that very pressing question, if it is possible to find a balance between what you're doing personally and professionally. And our guest has been able to do justice to that. Though we'll be looking forward to have another conversation about this, though not directly tied to work-life balance, but with another of our guests on the 17th of October. So please stay tuned to that. But still, while even if you joined us late or you join us much later, this live stream or feed will be available, made available for you to continue to watch it. And always understand this, that whenever you come to now with a manager, it's not a space just for Ubong, Matthew, and the guests, or a space where you see things look like it's very nice and all of that. But we are here to help you find that balance between your professional life done with our conversation. But like I was saying, now with manager is here for you to always get that insight, experience, expertise to also help you navigate your career journey. We have lots of experts, professionals here on our covers. Always feel free to reach out. You need mentors, you want someone to speak with to help you navigate your career journey. Feel free to reach out either on my DM, or you reach out to us on the brand's page or DM, and we'll always be available to respond to you. Trust me, it's never an easy journey to move alone in the professional space, and we're here to help you do that. So please, before we leave, Lalindra, do you have last words for our listeners to say goodbye to them with?
Yes, my last words is, uh, find something you love to do. And if you are not loving what you're doing, find a reason to love it. And if you still can't find a reason, I think it's time for you to move on. Go to plan B. You deserve to be happy in your life. You are meant to create value in this world. If you're not creating value where you are right now, you need to step out of your comfort zone, go out there and create value. Do something you love, and by that, try to make some money out of it as well. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you very
And thanks, Matthew, for inviting me. It's a great honor and a great pleasure to be on your podcast. And I wish you all the very best. I didn't even feel 1 hour going. So thank you very much.
much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think that is how it is here, because one thing I understand is that in 1 hour we can successfully have detailed learning and understanding if we just give 1 hour to listen. And we had this from the 1 hour rule. That is also where we drew our name from, our brand name from. So thank you for also being here with us. And to everybody, please continue to subscribe, continue to follow us across the social media platform, continue to engage, comment, like, follow us let's continue to know that we have people who are anticipating and actively following up on all that we're doing. And thank you very much to everybody from wherever you're joining us from. And we'll be here always every Thursday by 8 to 9 p.m. West African time. Might be noon for you wherever you might be, or it might be past our time for us if you're not in Nigeria. But we will always be here to share valuable information and insight as much as possible. So thank you very much to everybody. Thank you very much, our guest Lalindra, for the very wonderful discussions. And we'll see you guys same time next week. Good night, good morning, or good evening, wherever you're joining us from. Bye.
Right. Good night. Good night, everyone.